Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and this is Military Mind. Armed conflicts, defense and security, land, sea and air. We've got you covered. And as always, let's begin with a battlefield update. Overnight, fragments from downed Russian drones wounded at least 2 people and caused extensive damage to buildings in Kiev, according to city officials. Debris from the UAV struck 10 buildings across the Ukrainian capital, including a medical facility and a business center. Over 30 Russian drones were intercepted in and around Kiev in the latest wave of nighttime attacks. In southern Ukraine, the cities of Kherson and Odessa were also targeted by Russian strikes, resulting in 1 fatality and 11 others wounded, according to the local officials. Meanwhile, in the Kharkiv region, Russian forces are attempting to establish a foothold in the left bank Kaspiysk district, with the objective of advancing towards Kupiansk-Vuzhlovy. Following a potential capture of the left bank, Moscow's forces are expected to attempt a crossing of the Oskil River to push toward the right bank. Now, Ukrainian military sources are reporting coordinated efforts by their own units to counter these moves, noting that Russian forces are incurring disproportionately high losses relative to their limited gains on the battlefield. In eastern Ukraine, Russian forces have reportedly captured 2 additional settlements, with Russia's Ministry of Defense announcing the seizure of Maksimivka, north of Volodar, and Antonivka, near Kurakhove. Ukrainian forces have confirmed ongoing battles in both villages, saying they repelled 2 attacks near Maksimivka and another village close to Volodar in the Donetsk region. The General Staff of Ukraine described the situation around Kurakhove as tense, detailing 39 Russian assaults on Ukrainian defensive positions in the area. Now, let's move to the Middle East for a moment. Israel launched an air attack over Lebanon overnight, after the country's health ministry reported 40 people dead and 53 wounded in an aerial bombardment of areas in eastern Lebanon's Bekaa Valley and Baalbek city. An Israeli official has said the strikes in the Baalbek and Bekaa governorates targeted operatives of Iran-backed Hezbollah. Israeli strikes have also hit southern Beirut after the IDF issued evacuation warnings. The military has said it struck Hezbollah command centers, arms caches, and other infrastructure sites. Right, so let's begin with a look at the front through the eyes of Russian troops. The first-person 360-degree footage shows an assault element from the 2nd Assault Company of the 331st Kostroma Regiment, 98th Guards Airborne Division, training in the rear, in an area designated to replicate battlefield conditions. Their primary focus now is urban combat, as their forces are engaged in intense fighting in the town of Chasiv Yar, which is packed with buildings and basements. The training aims to prepare them for the challenges of close-quarters urban warfare. Ukrainian suicide drones have targeted the main base of Russia's Caspian Flotilla in Kaspiysk, Dagestan, attacking in the vicinity of key vessels. Reports indicate that 2 missile ships, Tatarstan and Dagestan, as well as smaller Buyan M-class corvettes, were successfully struck. Video footage shows the explosions and Russian personnel fleeing the scene as the drones punch through some of the defensive measures. This strike underscores Ukraine's strategic efforts against Russian assets used for launching missiles into Ukrainian territory. By the way, if you didn't know, this is about 1,000 kilometers away from Ukraine, which makes you think, okay, so Ukraine perhaps doesn't have to ask for Western weapons anymore. It has its own weapons, which make sure that the Russians cannot feel safe anywhere. Now, moving on, and the clip up ahead shows the 92nd Separate Assault Brigade engaging in intense combat in a residential area, likely in the village of Piszczane in the Kharkiv region. The first-person footage shows soldiers maneuvering through tight spaces and clearing buildings, highlighting the challenges of urban warfare where every room and corner could hide potential threats.
Иди сюда, сука! Давай, давай, сука! Иди заебашу! Ты сам! Ты с пидорами! Ты ранен! Ты ранен! Стой! Ты, братан, выходь! Сейчас я гранатку только подготовлю на всякий, что понял?
Luckily this time around, the camera is showing everything in a normal way. No one messing around with the FOV slider. Video game fans will understand. Anyway, moving on. The Ukrainian FPV crew Forest successfully took down a Russian target, removing their insignia in the process. The drone operators in Ukrainian service don't let up the pressure. See for yourselves. Sending this Russian flag back where it belongs. By the way, I might have already said this 1,000 times, but speaking of insignia, Korn Group, great stuff, Warhammer inspired. By this time, I'm quite sure that the Blood God is pretty happy, and the Skull Throne is literally inundated with skulls. Good job. Anyway, this is it for this episode of Military Mind. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.